My sister texted me one evening and said, "Send me $7,200 for my daughter's sweet 16. She attached photos of a ballroom glowing with chandeliers, a long glittering gown, and a cake that cost $700. I stared at my phone for a second and replied, "Get a job." 10 minutes later, my father messaged me. He wrote, "Pay, or get out of this family." That night, I sat on my couch, staring at my screen, and said to myself, "Cancel it. Cancel everything." By 7:30 the next morning, I meant it. My name is Ethan. I am 34 years old. I am the older brother by 4 years, the one people call steady. I am the kind of guy who files every receipt into labeled envelopes and keeps a spreadsheet for everything, from utility bills to the number of socks I own. I work as an auditor, which basically means my job is to ask dull questions until the numbers finally tell the truth. My coworkers like to joke that I can smell a missing decimal from across the conference table. It is not really a joke. I actually can. I live alone in a small one-bedroom apartment above a dry cleaner. The air always carries a faint trace of starch, but I do not mind it at all. My kitchen looks like a sample budget, simple, predictable, nothing fancy. I cook all my meals on Sundays and store them neatly in containers. Monday through Friday, I bring my own coffee to work. I like order. I like that rules never get offended when you follow them. My family is different. For them, rules are just suggestions. We grew up in a ranch-style house where the television was always on and unopened mail piled up next to the fruit bowl. My mother is warm and loud, the kind of person whose hugs come with a list of things you need to do. My father likes to fix things, but only if the idea comes from him. Planning ahead? Only when it is convenient. Then there is my younger sister, Clara. She is all sparkle and motion. Everything she touches becomes an event. She could make pouring cereal look like a stage performance. Cameras love her. People do too. Bills, however, do not. Since college, I have been the fallback guy, the right from the airport, the one who reads the lease before anyone signs, the emergency contact on every form. The one who knows how to talk to banks. When I was 25, I found out that knows how to talk to banks actually meant puts his name on the paperwork. But that part comes later. One Tuesday night in March, I was home. A casserole was cooling on the counter, a basketball game played silently on the television, and I was marking up a client's expense report with a yellow highlighter. Downstairs, the dry cleaner rattled a metal rack. Then my phone buzzed. It was Clara. First, she sent a photo of a ballroom, crystal chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls, rows of gold chairs, a DJ booth shining in the corner. Then came another picture, a sweeping white and silver gown displayed on a mannequin. After that, a tall cake with a price tag in the corner, $700. Her text followed right after, "Send me $7,200 for Isla's sweet 16. Then a confetti emoji. Then a pink heart. I looked at the screen like it was some kind of magic trick I was expected to applaud. Before I could even react, another photo came through, a mock-up of an invitation written in fancy cursive, with the date underneath. Her caption said, "It is happening." The game clock on my muted television kept ticking. The casserole made a soft pop as it cooled. Outside, a bus hissed down the street. I put my phone face down, but then flipped it back over because ignoring things has never been my way. I typed, "What?" Her reply came quick, 3 message bubbles, one after another. "Ballroom deposit is due tomorrow. We want a string quartet for the cocktail hour. It will be so special, Ethan." I held the phone in my hand. I did not send money. I did not send a lecture. I just sat there in my quiet kitchen, the smell of starch and baked casserole around me, thinking. Here it was again, the glitter invoice. I typed one sentence, deleted it, and placed the phone face down again. I took a breath. My rule has always been, do not make money decisions while irritated. But the words were already sitting in my throat, burning like a fuse. I knew exactly what I was about to say, and I also knew what would happen afterward. I picked up the phone again. My thumbs hovered above the screen. I thought about the last 18 months. The store card. The emergency that somehow bought shoes. The times I was told I was killing the vibe by mentioning budgets. I thought about Isla, 16 years old, a kind kid who deserves a celebration that does not sink anyone's finances. I typed 3 words. I did not press send. Not yet. The dry cleaner shut off their lights below me. Upstairs, my neighbor's faucet whined like a tea kettle. The moment hung there, sharp, quiet, final. I knew once I hit send, everything in my family would tilt. I put the phone down, cleaned my plate, washed the pan, and even answered 2 work emails. Then I picked up the phone again, unlocked it, and finally sent the message. 10 minutes later, my father's name flashed on the screen. That was the start of the fire. Now, this part may sound dull to anyone who thrives on chaos. But for me, this is where I get my balance back. A ledger is not love, but love without a ledger will eat you alive. Clara's rent came up short again. She and her boyfriend had decided they needed their own space, so she moved out. When the first rent bill hit, she was already late. I sent $900 and added a sentence I had written too many times before: "This is the last time." Of course, it was not. 3 months later, she broke up with the boyfriend and moved back home. The rent money never found its way back to me. Then came another one of Dad's famous emergencies. His text read, "Emergency." The crisis turned out to be that the cable had been shut off. He needed $180 until Thursday. Thursday never came, but the cable came back within 2 hours, along with his football games. That was the day I decided to stop calling them emergencies. I started calling them panics. Somehow that word made it easier for me to say no. Next came Mom's birthday dinner, 19 people at a fancy restaurant where every steak came with 3 adjectives. When the check arrived, everyone turned their heads toward me, like I was the cashier. I put down my card because watching that slow, uncomfortable scramble made my skin crawl. Driving home afterward, I felt sick. Angry. Disappointed in myself. I swore that would be the last time I played the default wallet. Clara's daughter, Isla, was 12 then. Bright, kind, and full of imagination. She used to draw me little comics Uncle Ethan, the spreadsheet superhero. I framed one and hung it above my desk. It is still the best thing on my wall. I opened a small college savings account for her, a $529 plan in my name, $25 a month. Because love that looks toward the future is the only kind that does not rot. In between those bigger moments were a million tiny drafts. Gas money, just this once. I need to upgrade my phone for safety. I will pay you back after my refund comes in. But payback is a myth in our house. Gratitude is real, though it is warm, heavy, comforting. It just does not pay the American Express bill. The hardest part was never the money. It was the tilt. When I brought home a bonus, Dad would say, "Don't brag." When Clara posted a selfie with a caption about hustling, Mom filled the comments with a dozen heart emojis. When I said no, I was told I made everything about money. When they said yes to themselves, it was called self-care. I know how it sounds. Bitter. But I did not start that way. I started practical. Bitterness just grew like mold on the practical, every time someone told me my no was cruel and their want was a need. Last year, I started therapy because my chest always felt tight and my jaw hurt from clenching while I said no problem to problems that were never mine to fix. My doctor Lenora Hayes asked me, "What do you want?" I said, "To stop being the family's overdraft protection." She said, "That sounds like a boundary." I said, "Boundaries get you exiled." She smiled and said, "Sometimes exile is the healthy distance you need." So I tried. I opened a notebook and wrote at the top, policy. Item 1, no co-signing. Item 2, no lending money to cover old loans. Item 3, gifts are planned, not pulled from guilt. Item 4, no negotiating through tears or threats. Item 5, if I feel panic in my body, I wait 24 hours before replying. It worked about half the time. Then Clara's message about the Sweet 16 showed up like a test I already knew I would fail. Here is the truth: Clara has big taste in short follow-through. She loves grand entrances, sweeping moments. She also believes that if you make something big enough, someone will step in to make the math work. Historically, that someone is me. She sent the ballroom photo again. Then a tiara. Then a floral arch. It is not just a party, she typed. It is once in a lifetime. I looked at my phone and saw not a dream, but a math problem in a ball gown. The total was not just $7,200. It was $7,200 plus every other time the glitter invoice had arrived at my door. I typed 3 words. Erased them. Typed them again. Then pressed send. Get a job. Silence. 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. Then my father's message arrived. Pay. Or get out of this family. It was no longer about a birthday party. It never really was. It was about their favorite family equation: love equals money. And if you dare to question that math, you become the villain. I sat there on my couch with the TV game still muted, my casserole cooling on the counter, and that message glowing on my screen. I felt the old panic rising. The same voice whispering, fix it. Smooth it out. Be the good one. Do not make trouble. Then I looked up at Isla's comic on my wall, Uncle Ethan wearing a cape shaped like a pie chart. I heard my Dr. Lenora Hayes's voice in my head. What does protecting yourself sound like? It sounded like a sentence I had never said out loud to my family. I whispered it into the empty room first. This is not about revenge. This is about closure. It felt like flipping a breaker back into place after a blackout. That night, I opened a blank spreadsheet and titled it Family Account. Underneath, I wrote, Ethan Reed, Parents plus Clara. Then I opened the text thread and finally said what needed to be said. That is when the house lights came on and everyone started shouting. At 8:02 that night, the group chat came alive. Mom named it Family, as if giving it that name could hold it together. She added me, Dad, and Clara. Mom wrote first, Ethan, your sister is stressed. Be kind. Dad, you do not talk to your sister like that. Clara, wow. Really? To your niece? I typed slowly. I love Isla. But I am not paying $7,200 for a party. Dad called right away. He hates arguing over text. I picked up, because ignoring calls is just adding gasoline to the fire. Pay, he said. No greeting. No pause. Just that. Pay, or do not bother showing up here again. Dad, I said, keeping my tone calm. That is abusive. He laughed, high, sharp, offended. You are the one withholding from your own blood. I am withholding from bad decisions, I said. Bad? He sputtered. It is a Sweet 16. It is an event you cannot afford, I told him. A nice one, sure, but still a luxury. Clara grabbed the phone. I could hear her breathing, shaky and furious. I thought you loved Isla. I do, I said. I want her to have a beautiful day, one that does not depend on me paying for a ballroom and a $700 cake. It is not just cake, she snapped. It is a design. Exactly, I said. Then Mom's voice came through, trying to sound calm the way she organizes a kitchen drawer by pushing everything messy to the back. Ethan, she said, we did not raise you to be cruel. You raised me to help, I said quietly. And I am helping by not funding a mistake. Everything with you is numbers, she said. Where is your heart? In Isla's college account, I told her. That is where her future actually is. There was silence. Then Dad's voice again, lower now, almost a growl. If you do not pay, do not come to the party. Do not come to this house. Do not call us. You are out. Would you like me to keep the same tone and pacing for part 3, steady, emotional, but but realistic and easy to follow for narration? I could feel my heartbeat pounding all the way up into my teeth. I asked him, as calmly as I could, "Are you really sure you want to say that out loud?" He curled his lip and shot back, "Say what?" like he had no idea what he was implying. "That the only way to be part of this family is to hand over money," I told him. "Is that really what you believe?" He did not answer, but his silence pretty much screamed the truth. I could have begged to keep the peace. I could have said something like, "Let me help pay a portion," or tried to find a middle ground with a man who had already decided that holding his own son hostage for cash was just good parenting. Instead, I stared at a fresh spreadsheet glowing on my laptop screen, numbers I had just started typing, right down to the bottom row where I had written the word closed in bold letters I had not earned yet. "All right," I finally said. "Here is what is going to happen. Tomorrow morning, I will send you a document. It lists every dollar I have covered over the last 10 years. Gifts are gifts. Loans are loans. Anything else," I continued, "is pressure. And I am erasing all of that. As of right now, I am not your personal bank anymore. No more funding this party. No more co-signing anything. And I am done having money conversations with you." My father let out another laugh, except this time it did not sound strong. It sounded like somebody squeezed the last breath out of a balloon. "You think you are hot stuff because you have a decent job," he scoffed. "No," I said. "I think I am a grown man who finally has a boundary." Clara let out this sharp little cry, high and stunned, the same sound she made when she was 5 years old and scraped her knee. "So that is it," she sobbed. "You are choosing money over your niece?" "I am choosing her future over your fancy celebration," I told her. "I will happily cover her books when she goes to community college. I will pay for her driving lessons. If she gets a part-time job, I will even match what she saves to buy a used car. But I am not paying for chandeliers. You will regret this," my mother warned me, those same words she uses anytime I dare to say no. "One day, we will not be around anymore." "That exact day," I said, "is why I cannot drive myself into debt for a cake." She let out a loud sigh straight into the phone speaker. "You are heartless." "No," I replied. "I am being exact. There is a difference." "Send your little document," my dad mocked. "Let us see your cute report." "It is not small," I said. "It covers 10 years. I hung up before they could reload their weapons for another round. My hands were trembling, and my shoulders felt like they had locked right beneath my ears for 12 months straight. I wrote the letter. I kept the message very clear. I will not fund, cosign, or guarantee any debts. I will not be guilt-tripped into paying for luxuries. If anyone tries to open credit in my name, I will involve the law. I love you, and the answer is no. This is not revenge. This is closure." At midnight, I finished that spreadsheet. I rounded numbers down. I deleted tiny items so nobody could argue I was exaggerating. The total still made my stomach twist hard. $41,870. 10 years of emergency rescues, unpaid bills, last-minute surprises, and events where the check hunted me down like a heat-seeking missile. At 17 minutes past midnight, I sent a PDF to our family group chat and blind copied my personal account, because one thing I have learned is, always keep a document trail. That night, I barely slept. Just thin, twitchy half-dreams instead of rest. By 7:30 the next morning, my mom was knocking on my door. She held the printed spreadsheet in one hand and wore the look of someone who finally decided today was the perfect day to explode. She stared at the number at the bottom. Then she stared at me. Her mouth started to form a sentence, but instead she just sat down, did not even ask first, then suddenly went limp and fainted right there. I grabbed her head before it bounced off the arm of the chair. Later, my father would claim I set the whole thing up, like gravity takes bribes from me, like a healthy boundary is some kind of trap. I did not call emergency services. I just handled what needed handling, feet elevated, cool towel, quiet voice. Within 30 seconds she was blinking awake, looking tiny in my very average chair. "Ethan," she whispered. "I am right here," I said. You passed out. She glanced at the paper like it was a snake ready to bite. You listed every tiny thing. I actually erased the tiny things, I said. These are only the promises to repay. And I am wiping them clean. We are closing our financial relationship. She glared at the word closed like it was a personal insult sung badly on karaoke night. How dare you? Mom, I said gently, how dare you turn being part of this family into a bill? She tried to stand, got dizzy, and had to sit again. Your father is going to be furious. I already heard his version, I said. Right then my phone buzzed. Monster. We are done. Then he left a voice message I refused to listen to until my emotions were steady enough to let my thoughts have the first word. Clara's texts came flying in clusters. Are you happy now? Isla is sobbing. I hope you feel like a big man. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I typed, erased, typed again. I heard my Dr. Lenora Hayes in my head. Say what you are doing. Not what they are doing. So I wrote. I will not pay for the party, but I will contribute $500 to a college savings plan for Isla if you open one by Friday. I hit send. Silence for a full minute. Then, keep your blood money. 5 minutes later. What is a 529? I sent a link. She left it on read. Mom slowly stood up without wobbling. She smoothed the paper flat. Then folded it into a sharp little square. You are not the person I thought you were, she said. I am, I told her. I am just done spending money to earn that role. She walked out without touching me. The door clicked shut. My apartment felt huge and empty and suffocating all at once. I made a pot of coffee. I held the mug between both hands so I would not text them back out of pure anger. When I finally played my father's voicemail, his voice was shaking with rage. You did this to your mother, he said. You have always been a cold fish. Do not come here. Do not call us. Do not use our name to make yourself feel important. I saved it. Evidence. At 9:05, my boss called. Everything all right? He asked. You are usually online early. I had a family situation, I told him. Take the morning, he said. Then, after a breath, take the whole day. I did not take it. Work is a place where the numbers make sense. I need that when people do not. By lunchtime, my Aunt Ruth called to pretend she was neutral while very much picking a side. Your mother is completely heartbroken, she said. This party is a big milestone. She can celebrate however she wants, I said. She just cannot send me the bill. Families help each other, she insisted. I have helped for a decade, I replied. Now I am finally helping myself. She let out that disappointed sigh and said, You know, you sound like a banker. I'm an auditor, I told her. Someone's gotta keep track because no one else will. Later that afternoon, my credit monitoring app pinged. A new hard inquiry from a store in a mall I hadn't stepped foot in for years. My stomach sank. I called the company right away. The woman on the line said, We've got a new credit application under your name. Close it, I said immediately. That's fraud. Was there a co-applicant? She asked. It lists your sister's name. Close it, I repeated. And flag my account. After the call, I sent a message to our family group chat. Just one line. Do not open credit in my name. Any more attempts will involve the police. Dad texted back almost instantly, Stop threatening us. I typed, then stop stealing from me, but deleted it. Instead, I wrote. This isn't a threat. It's a boundary. By 3 in the afternoon, my Dr. Lenora Hayes squeezed me in for a video session. I balanced my laptop on a stack of old audit binders and told her everything about the fainting, the voicemail, the credit card mess. What does your body feel like right now? She asked. My jaw hurts, I said. And my stomach feels electric. What's your rule today? I don't make choices to fix their feelings, I told her. I make choices to protect my future. She nodded slowly. Say that to them. I already did, I said. They heard betrayal. That's not yours to translate, she said softly. After we ended the call, I wrote not my translation on a sticky note and stuck it to the corner of my monitor. Over the next week, the family chat turned into a storm. Mom sent pictures of birthday cakes with captions like, "Never mind, we'll do a sheet cake," followed by a crying emoji. Clara posted some vague Facebook status about people who choose money over love. Her friends replied with prayer emojis. Dad updated his profile picture, him and Isla smiling together, like a message that they were doing just fine without me. I did boring, grounding things that felt like sandbags holding back a flood. Froze my credit. Removed my parents as authorized users on a card I'd forgotten about. Changed every password. Updated my emergency contacts at work. It all felt small and clinical, but necessary. 9 days later, Clara texted me. How do I open that education account thing again? I sent her the link. 30 minutes later, she called. Her voice was flat, tired. Can you walk me through it? Sure, I said, but on one condition. We're not talking about the party. Fine, she sighed. We set up the account. She put in $25. I added $500. It wasn't forgiveness. It was more like laying a quiet wire under the ground, connection, not peace. On day 12, Mom texted, I made soup. Can I bring you some? I said yes, but with one rule, no party talk. She stopped by, hugged me briefly, set the Tupperware on the counter. Her eyes wandered over my spreadsheets, fingers brushing the edge of one like it might whisper something to her. Your father's stubborn, she said finally. It was the closest thing to an apology I've ever seen in my family. I know, I said. 3 days later, Dad called. I let it ring once, then picked up out of habit. Your mother fainted, he said, almost cheerfully, like he'd found my weak spot. You happy now? No, I said quietly. I'm sad. But I'm still not paying. He went silent for a moment, then said, softer, you were always good with numbers. We're not. That's true, I said. Can you look at ours? Not to pay, just to look? I hesitated, then said, yes. I'll look. But I'm not paying. Fine, he said. Saturday came. I sat at their dining table with my legal pad and 3 highlighters, because that's how I operate. I drew 3 columns, needs, nice, and not now. At the top, I wrote rent. Under not now, I wrote Suite 16 ballroom. Mom glared. I didn't erase it. Under nice, I added Isla's dress with a reasonable number beside it. Then sheet cake underlined once for good measure. DJ from cousin's friend, not now. Park permit plus potluck, a compromise between needs and nice. Dad argued until I showed him how much interest he'd paid on credit cards last year. Mom cried when I circled the number. I handed her a tissue and kept writing. Because that's the only way things ever change. Clara came in waving her phone like a Pinterest catalog. What about a balloon arch, she asked. Only if you blow them up yourself, I said. She made that face, half challenge, half disbelief. I can do that, she said. I'll get Isla to help. Good, I told her. Teach her how to price things. By the time I left, the ballroom was out, the park was in, and everyone was mad at me in that familiar, smaller kind of way. I sat in my car with the engine off. I wasn't thrilled. I was just steady. There's a difference between winning and simply not losing. The following week, the calls slowed. The texts cooled. A new kind of quiet settled in, not exile, just space. I went for runs 3 mornings in a row, left my phone at home. Bought a plant and promised not to kill it. Met a friend for coffee who said, you look like you actually slept. I had. The party turned into a backyard gathering with borrowed lights. Clara found a neighbor who smoked meat for $100 and a case of soda. Isla picked a simple dress that made her look like herself, sweet, shy, and a little taller than before. When I dropped off folding chairs, she hugged me and whispered, "Thanks for the college thing." I whispered back, "Thanks for being you." On the day of the party, I showed up with ice and a folding table. Left my wallet in the car because I'm done offering it up as tribute. Dad stood at the grill like a general. Mom fussed with string lights that refused to work until I fixed them. "You're still our fixer," she said. "I fix lights," I told her. "Not budgets." She nodded. "Fair." Clara avoided me for most of the afternoon, then brought me a cup of lemonade like a peace offering. "No chandeliers," she said, laughing a little. "It's beautiful," I told her. And it really was. People were smiling. Isla was glowing. Evening, Dad pulled me aside. He had that tight look, like words were stuck somewhere behind his teeth. "You're a good man," he said, rough and sudden. "Thanks," I told him. He gave a grunt. "Don't expect me to get sentimental." "Wouldn't dream of it," I said, and he gave a small, almost smile before walking off. When the music faded and the folding chairs clicked shut, I packed up my plant-based leftovers. Yes, Clara, I heard the joke, grabbed my folding table, and headed home to my quiet apartment that smelled faintly of laundry starch. Once inside, I set the plant on the windowsill, stacked the leftovers neatly into labeled containers, and tucked the table into the closet. Then I just stood there for a minute, in the middle of the room, not feeling victorious, just balanced. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the printed copy of the letter I'd sent after the whole ballroom text. My fingers traced the line that read, "This isn't about revenge. This is about closure." For the first time, I didn't feel a rush or a sting. Just a low, steady hum, like a wire finally connected to the right circuit. 2 months passed. Family chat stayed active, but quiet. No one mentioned money anymore. If anyone typed loan, the conversation stopped right there. Isla texted about chemistry homework, I replied with a lemonade math problem and quietly added $25 to her $529 plan. Dad started calling on Sundays to talk football. If he drifted toward money, I'd just say, "Not my topic," and he'd steer back. Mom sent photos of her soups, some too salty, some perfect, and I'd text back, "Add a potato." Clara messaged one night, "Picked up extra shifts. Proud of you." I smiled. My new rule is simple, I don't buy love with loans or cosigners. I invest in things that build a life: books, classes, working lights. This isn't revenge anymore. It's closure. It's the breaker panel labeled clearly, the backyard lights strung across the evening, a cake we could afford, and my wallet staying safe in the glove compartment while I still, somehow, belong.